My name is Abigail. I'm sales and marketing and partnerships at Salesforce Supermums. I've had a chat with quite a lot of you, a few new names as well there. So nice to have you all with us today. Today we've got Michelle Beaton with us. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for your time joining us today. So Michelle is a volunteer with Salesforce Supermum, so gives up a bit of her time to help mentor and work on some of the content of our courses as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But today is all about a day in the life. So learning a bit more about what it's like to be working in Salesforce day to day. And Michelle is a senior Salesforce consultant with PwC. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So Michelle, do you want to start off by introducing yourself, a little bit about your role and what it, I mean, we know your job title, but what that actually means you do day to day? Oh, sorry, Michelle, I can't hear you. Again, you're definitely unmuted my end. You might just want to check your mic.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so I work as a Salesforce consultant for PwC. I normally get involved in projects doing quite a bit of the technical work. So typically what I would do is implement user stories on a Salesforce project by creating config or creating code, Apex, Lightning components, Visual Force. At the moment, we're in the testing phase of a big project for a client in Nottingham. So we're liaising with the testers quite a lot. If they find any issues, we go into the code and resolve them. Also working quite a lot with other developers. We've got an offshore team in Poland that we work a lot with, so they will pick up quite a bit of the development work, and then we make sure it's all done correct, and we liaise with the client. So yeah, that's typically the type of work that we do.
Okay, great, thank you. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you work day to day. So we can see I'm at home here, and I know you are as well. So you obviously work from home, remotely, flexibly. Do you want to talk us through a bit about that and how you find it?
Yeah, so I've currently got a 14-month-old daughter. So since coming back to work from maternity leave, I've been working 4 days a week. So it's really great that my company's been so flexible to allow me to go part-time. But I also work from home. So it's really good that Salesforce, it's all in the cloud. So I don't normally need to travel a lot. I occasionally go to clients, but the majority of the work I can just do from home, and we talk to each other on Google Hangouts and chat. So we still stay in touch quite a lot. With our team, we also get together once a month so that you still sort of see each other face to face. But yeah, the rest of the time I work from home. So I've got a little study here, all my setup here. So yeah, it's really good. It's really nice to be able to work from home.
Great. And like, how do you find it? What are the kind of positives and negatives of that whole flexible working, remote working situation?
I think it depends a bit on the type of person that you are. Initially, I found it a bit hard to sort of not have a lot of face-to-face contact. I did really miss sort of having little coffee breaks and catching up with people about their weekends, you know, that you don't really have that. Instead, you talk on chat, which is also good, but of course it's not the same. But it's just so nice to be able to get up and get my daughter ready and then just start work in the morning rather than having to travel into London, which is what the alternative would be for me, being on a busy commuter train, spending lots of money on train fares. And yeah, for me, it works really well. And I find that when I'm at home, I actually do a lot more work than when I'm in the office, just because I don't get interrupted. I can just really concentrate and put my head down and get all the work done.
Yeah, I actually find as well, because I work from home as well, and a lot of people often talk about, oh, yeah, that's really good, well done. I'm not sure I could do it and be disciplined enough, but I actually find you more have to be a little bit disciplined to make sure you do take those breaks and have a chat with
Yeah,
people in the outside
exactly.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, because you tend to just make a sandwich and continue working for lunch because because it's just so easy to just keep working. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about the benefits of flexible working, remote working for business as well, because I
Yeah.
think people really can be more productive. Obviously, it depends on your role, but especially something like Salesforce, where we're surrounded by the technology to make it happen and to make it possible. You know, the technology is there to make it work for everyone. So yeah, it's great that so many companies we work with are really starting to promote that and understand that as well. So Salesforce roles do often come with quite a bit of flexibility, which is why I know lots of people want to get into it. So I wanted to have a little chat about your career and how you got to where you are today. What's been kind of that pathway to get you to your position of senior Salesforce consultant at PwC? Just a potted history.
Yeah, so I really got into Salesforce sort of by accident. I I do have a degree in computer engineering, so I do have a sort of programming background. But I worked for another cloud software company, and then I was just looking for another opportunity, and I got hired as a consultant for Salesforce, and I didn't really even know what it was. But because you already know some other cloud technologies, the switch is not that big of a hurdle. And as people who work in Salesforce know, it's not that complicated to get into, to get sort of that admin experience. You don't need to have loads of technical knowledge or be a programming wizard. It is quite straightforward to get into, and with tools like Trailhead, it is free to gain that knowledge and to get trained up on that. So that's why I love Salesforce. So yeah, I sort of got into it and really enjoyed it. So I've been working in Salesforce now for about 5 years, and now at PwC, which is really good because they allow me to work from home full time. So it's a really good place to be. I think Salesforce in general is a really good place to be.
How long have you been working at PwC?
For about 2 years now, yeah.
Okay, and in sales, how long have you been working with Salesforce in total, did you say?
Yeah, about 5 years.
Oh, okay, great. So you've made quite a reasonably quick journey through the ranks there. And how did you find? So I know you talked a lot about you mentioned Trailhead then, which is the learning platform. I know we've got kind of a bit of a mixed audience, people who definitely know from a Salesforce background and some people new to Salesforce. So Trailhead is the online learning platform where you can learn all your Salesforce skills, and even very experienced people like yourself still using Trailhead because it's all about lifelong learning, isn't it, Trailhead? So do you want to talk a little bit how you use Trailhead and also about your certifications, so your learning journey with Salesforce?
Yeah, so Trailhead, everyone still uses Trailhead. Everyone who works with Salesforce, first of all, has to use Trailhead to maintain your certifications. But also because the product just keeps changing, Trailhead is just such a good way to keep up to date with the new features and the new releases. And as I said, it's free, so it's just a really good way to learn new things. So about the certifications, I've got quite a few.
You don't have to list them all, don't worry, but maybe some highlights. So you've got platform developer, which is one of the courses we'll be starting soon. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but what other kind of the big ones have you got?
Yeah, so I think for everyone who is starting to use Salesforce and starting to learn Salesforce, to get a certification like Salesforce administrator is just not only does it look good on your CV and LinkedIn, but it's a good way for yourself to confirm that you actually know the product. And I think you might find that you actually know more than you think going for the certification. So in terms of going for certifications, I think what I always do is when I decide to try and get a certification, I first start by scheduling the exam. just to have sort of a deadline to work towards. And you can schedule it for 3-4 weeks in advance, and if the date comes close and you're not ready, you can always reschedule it, and it's free to reschedule. So if you start by scheduling that exam, then you've got that deadline to work towards. And then what I do is normally try and find some sample questions on websites like Quizlet, or Salesforce also publishes some sample questions, just to see where the gaps are in your knowledge and what you need to study a bit more of. But I think you might be surprised how much you already know. And then my advice would be to just go for it. And it's really not so bad to fail one, because you can just retake it, but it's such a good experience, so you know what to expect, what sort of questions you're getting. So yeah, just give it a go.
I think that's great advice about booking the exam. I know for definitely people who are new to Salesforce, and perhaps the admin one is the first one they're going to take, it can be quite daunting. I know that. I think I need to take your advice as well. Just book the exam. Just do it. That's excellent advice.
Just book it so that you've got it in your diary, and that you can work towards it. Yeah, just book it.
And how do you find the time to fit in kind of studying with working? I know you said you work 4 days a week, and is the working culture to make sure you have the time to keep learning as well? How do you fit in the study around kind of work and family commitments and everything?
Yeah, of course, when you're on a project, it can be quite full on, and it can be really busy, and especially when you approach like a deadline or go live of the project, it gets really busy. So of course, when you schedule the exam, you take that into account, but you can always find half an hour at lunch or in the evening to just do a bit of studying. As long as you're committed to doing it regularly, it doesn't need to take hours every day to study. If you do a little bit, then it adds up, and that should be enough to prepare you.
Yeah, I found the trailheads are really handy at telling you the time you need to do each one, so you can plan ahead. Or there's some of them I often end up doing on my phone on the train and all that kind of thing. There's some of them that are easier to do than others like that. So try and squeeze them in where you can. Yeah, great advice, thank you. So we mentioned earlier that you're a volunteer for Salesforce Supermums, so a volunteer mentor for our programs as well. So all our training includes a mentor, which is a really, really nice and really helpful thing for our trainees, but also helping develop a bit of their content of our latest course, our Platform Developer 1 course, which is starting on the 4th of October, and we're taking sign-ups for that now. So I thought we could have a little chat about that, because obviously you've got your certifications and use those skills every day, and have helped us develop a bit about the course. So I was wondering if you could talk us a little bit about what Platform Developer 1 involves, like what kind of things can people expect to study and need to learn?
Yeah, so Platform Developer 1 is sort of the first step to actually being a Salesforce developer. And I think for many people, it's quite daunting to switch from doing just the configuration, like workflows, to go actually into the code, into Apex. But you can definitely learn. I think everyone can learn it, and Trailhead can really help you prepare for that, because the tutorials on Trailhead, they start quite easy, where you just copy the piece of code that they give you, and you put it into Salesforce, and then you see what it does, and it really explains it very well, every line of code, what it does. But I think my main advice would be, give it time. Learning Apex is called a language for a reason. It's a programming language, but it's just like learning an actual language, like learning French. It takes time and it takes practice. So don't expect to just do a Trailhead and be an Apex expert. Of course you need to do the studying for it, but you also just need to get used to the language and get some experience in it, and then it will come. And it's just like learning French. As long as you practice and study, then you will learn it.
Great, thank you. Yeah, nice words of encouragement there, because I think it can be a little bit daunting, that idea, but yeah, it is just another language. I like that comparison. Yeah, that's a good one. So with the Platform Developer 1 course and also the exam, do you want to talk us through a little bit about like what the exam involves? Is it just multiple choice questions like the other Salesforce exams? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the exam is just like the other exams, it's just multiple choice questions, and it will be a mixture between questions about Apex and there will be a bit about Visual Force as well. So yeah, go through the trailheads, go on websites like Quizlet to find some sample questions and see where your knowledge is at the moment. But yeah, it's all multiple choice. You don't have to actually write any code. So as long as you can recognize, as long as you can read the code and understand what it means, then yeah, you should be able to pass the exam.
Okay, great. And our course covers everything that you should need to know to be able to pass the exam. I know you're
Yes.
a part of that. Are you going to be helping to deliver the course as well?
I'm not sure yet, but yeah, I've been writing quite a bit of the content for the course. Yeah.
Brilliant. And that's what's great, and a really important part of our course, I think, is learning and using material from people who are working in it right now, so we know it's the most up-to-date stuff that there could possibly be. So that's really great. And I mentioned that because we are going to be having some volunteers helping us deliver some of the training sessions as well, so trainees will be learning direct from people like yourself. But you're also mentoring, right? So do you want to talk a little bit more about mentoring? Like, why did you decide to sign up to volunteer with Supermums, particularly as a mentor?
I just, so first of all, Salesforce is just a really good industry to be in because there's such a high demand and typically the jobs are very flexible. So I think what Supermums is doing is really great, helping more people get into Salesforce and enjoy that flexible working. And what I see around me every day is that we need more people. We need more good people who know Salesforce and who enjoy working with Salesforce. So yeah, the more people we can train up, the better. So that's why I've signed up. I also think mentoring is just a really nice way to give back and help people get where they want to be in their careers, especially because I've been in a few companies, I've had a few different jobs in Salesforce, so I know the Salesforce ecosystem quite well. So if I can help anyone with that, that's good.
Yeah, and we talk about this Salesforce ecosystem, and for people new to Salesforce, that kind of means all the different organizations and people working with Salesforce, across all the clients, across Salesforce itself. And there's something one of Salesforce's things is the Salesforce Ohana, so the idea of the Salesforce family. And I think Salesforce Supermums has really benefited from that, and people like yourself wanting to share their learning and their knowledge. Like, how have you found being part of that Ohana kind of help develop your career?
I think, yeah, that whole idea from Salesforce that we need to share, and I know Salesforce is very big in helping charities as well. I think that makes me just really happy to work in an industry like that tries to give back to the community.
Yeah, and I think it's really nice and reassuring for people who, whether you're in Salesforce and stepping up to Platform Developer 1 or whether you're new to it, to know that support environment and that support network is there to just kind of keep learning and keep learning. And talking of keeping learning, I guess a question for you, what are your kind of plans or ambitions? So you've got PD1 and quite a few other certifications under your belt. What are you thinking of doing next, and what's your kind of goal?
So at the moment I'm preparing for PD2. So yeah, after PD1 you can get PD2, which is a combination of a multiple choice exam and also a number of what they call super badges on Trailheads, which are basically a collection of trailheads that you can do. So I've done all the trailheads, I've done all the super badges. I just need to now follow my own advice and schedule the exam and just do it. So that's the next one. And then after that, I'm planning to get the rest of the architect certifications. I've still got 3 more to go.
Oh, okay, great. So people who might not know what architect means, it's not someone in this case who built a house. Like, tell us about that.
So a Salesforce architect designs a Salesforce solution. So if you come into a project, a Salesforce project, so the client, they know what they want, but they don't really know Salesforce. So you speak to the client, you find out exactly what they want, and then you translate that in a solution that fits in Salesforce. So the data model, all the automation, how is it structured, how does it all work together, any integrations with other systems, so you make that overall design.
Great, and I know there's some really interesting stats around about how few of those people there are and the demand for the people with those skills, right?
Yeah, there's a very high demand, but to get certified as an architect, and there's quite a few different certifications. I think there's about 7 or 8 certifications that you need to get first, and then to become a certified technical architect, you need to sit in front of an exam board, and they will ask you questions. So that's the next step. But yeah.
Yeah, and I know there's not a huge number of women doing those roles either, is there? So
no, there's not.
We need more people like yourself working towards it. Great. I just want to take a moment, actually, I was going to mention this earlier, that if anyone is out there and would like to submit some questions, if there's a few things that you want us to pick up on or speak further about, please do submit them and I will do my best to put them to Michelle. And if we don't get through them all, then we will, I'll follow up with them later. I've got a few questions coming in here about, one good one here that gets a bit more into some technical stuff. Is Apex similar to any other program language?
Yes, definitely. Of course, it's slightly different, but I would say this is a bit, to go back to the language equivalent, if you already know other programming language, and then specifically I mean Java, because Apex is a Java-based language, then it's not going to be very difficult to learn. But for example, if you already speak fluent Italian, then learning Spanish of course, you will still need to study a bit, but it's going to be a lot easier than if you only speak English. So if you already have a few other languages under your belt, then definitely it's going to make it a lot easier.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, any more questions, keep them coming in and I'll put them to you. Just want to move on to some more questions for you now. So a little bit about your experience of applying for jobs and getting jobs. So I know a question a lot of people signing up to our programs have is around then going into employment, and we're talking about there's these demand for skills. So there are lots of job opportunities out there, but how do you go about actually getting one and kind of nailing that CV and interview? Have you got any top tips or just experiences you want to share from your own experience about that?
Yeah, so the main thing I would like to say is that being in Salesforce is a very good place to be. There are a lot of jobs out there. So the main thing is to get the certifications, get some experience, which the Supermom program will also help you with. Once you've got that experience and the certifications, and you have that on your CV and on your LinkedIn page, then it will be quite easy to find the opportunities. As I said, there's so many jobs out there. As soon as you put on your LinkedIn profile that you've got Salesforce experience, the recruiters will get in touch with you and will try to get you interviews. And as for the interviews, I think just be honest about what you want, be honest about your experience, because that's often what companies appreciate, and what I also would appreciate if I interview people. If you don't know something, that's fine. Just tell them you don't know, but don't try and make something up, because they will see through that. Also, be prepared for questions like describe a challenge that you had and how you resolved it, because nowadays companies are a lot less interested in what your degree is and a lot more interested in how can you handle difficult situations, can you handle difficult clients, how would you handle yourself in a difficult situation, things like that. So if you've got examples from those things, then yes, get them ready and let them know. Yeah.
And I think for some of our supermums, it's important to point out that some of those things, especially around speaking to clients, that could be from previous experience. That doesn't necessarily have to be Salesforce specific experience. And I think this balance that a lot of our mums have this really important experience, which is, you know, they mustn't undervalue all the things they've learned in their previous roles, even if that isn't technical related, and what that can bring to the Salesforce community. And Salesforce, you're always learning, and I definitely found on my doing my work experience project, because for those of you that don't know, I'm a supermum, a graduate of the program myself. There were a few things that I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that, but it's about displaying your ability to learn it. And we've talked about the great environment and community that's out there to help you figure it out. So sometimes there's stuff you just have to be able to learn on the job and be prepared to do that. So just a couple of things I want to pick up on there to share with the group actually about Supermums training, because you mentioned a few important things there, one of which was LinkedIn. So we are encouraging all our mums to get on social media, things like Twitter and LinkedIn, to make sure their profiles are up to date, because they are really great places to find jobs in the Salesforce community, and making sure your voice is heard in that community can be a really good way to make connections, get help and get a job as well. So we are kind of starting to include that a little bit. And it was really interesting what you said about having experience, because I think this is one of the unique things about the Supermums program and why it's designed the way it is that it includes the training via, you know, we use Trailhead. We have, you know, really a great trainer in Vicky and volunteers like yourself who are helping us deliver that expert training, and the mentors to help you along the way. But this work experience element, that first success story that you get to create yourself, is just vital, because I know we've even had people on our courses who have got a certificate but no work experience. So that, I think that is really for me, the great thing about the program. It's that ability to put those skills into practice. And it's great to hear you say that, you know, that's true. From the perspective of someone who would be on the other side of the hiring table. So thank you for sharing that. I guess we've only got like 1 minute left really. So we talked about the importance of getting into the Salesforce community and kind of being heard and making connections there. So I know you're speaking at an event soon, aren't you? So do you want to share a little bit about that?
I'm speaking at the next Trailblazer community group. So Salesforce has set up a Trailblazer platform where people can create local groups and get together to talk about Salesforce. So there's one very popular group which is called London Salesforce Developers, which is for anyone working in Salesforce. You don't have to be a developer, but anyone interested in more like the technical subjects. And we get together once a month somewhere in London. So I am speaking at the next Trailblazer community event in London, which is on the 21st of August. And I will be speaking about Chatter.
Oh, brilliant. That's really good to know. And I know there is another Trailblazer meetup next Thursday as well, which is the Women in Tech London one. And I'll be going to that one. So if anyone else would like to go, maybe worried about not knowing anyone, I'll be there. So I'll already be a familiar face. So yeah, it's really great to share in other people's knowledge and build community that way as well. So yeah, do you have any final, thank you for that. Do you have any final kind of last words of wisdom you'd like to share with anyone who's thinking about embarking or perhaps going a little bit further with their Salesforce career journey?
Yeah, I would just advise them to sign up for the Supermums course.
Ah, thank you. I didn't tell you. But thank you for saying that. And yeah, if you would like more information about the Supermums courses, then you can arrange a chat with me. You'll be getting an email after this webinar. I think tomorrow it will go out with links to further information and a link where you can actually book in a call to have a chat with me if you'd like to talk about your personal circumstances. If there are any questions we didn't get to, I will follow up with Michelle and make sure they get answered. This will be posted to our website and on social with a little write-up as well, so hopefully we'll be able to make sure everyone's questions are answered. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time today. That was really, really great. We'll let you get back to work now. Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Michelle.
Thanks, Abby. Bye.
Bye.